Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Little Reader's house. I'm the Little Reader, and you, my sweet friend, have landed in my house, where you are absolutely welcome, in tandem with your friend, my friend, our mutual homie, Clear Quartz. This will be our guest for this transmission, to help bring in the channeled energies, to help center whatever is being communicated through sound, through intellect, through heart, and through form, and to help maximize our purpose here in the house, which if you're new here, welcome, and if you're old here, welcome even more. You know the purpose. It is to anchor the love of consciousness, anchor the love of experience, and anchor the love of presence. That's the hope. A gently used word to simply convey the idea of the intention behind each of these transmissions. So I thank you so much for being here, and it is more than an honor and more than a pleasure to hold this space with you. Today we are touching on a highly requested topic. Woof. And my stomach is joining the conversation as well, so welcome. A highly requested topic that has been floating around in the ether and is ready to explode onto the scene in the form of one of our transmissions. So let me move this hair out of my left eye. I want to be able to see you with everything I've got. The topic is manifestation. The question is, what the hell? And the answer? We're going to find out. So it all starts like this. Fast forward backwards a few decades or more to when the spiritual scene got hit by the concept of your thoughts control your life. Oh, what a time. And it's a sentiment, a belief, an idea that has been communicated over many cycles of human history, but it surged again not long ago, and we had all kinds of prominent people who I'm sure you know, beautiful soul, talking about how you can control your life experience using your mind. The methods that rose onto the scene, too numerous to count, too numerous to name, but I'm sure you're familiar with them. There are things like vision boards, affirmations, visualizations, meditations, these processes that were created, or not just created, but shared with the intention of empowering the individual like you, my sweet friend, to manipulate your life experience. Some individuals understood it as removing blockages to what was already in their destiny. Some individuals understood it as breaking karma, ending generational curses and ancestral trauma, and bringing in new experiences that they felt because they desired them, they were meant to have. And for others, they understood manifestation, or the idea of the law of attraction, as mechanisms to shape their daily experience. Maybe they didn't have a great big vision. Maybe they didn't have a specific goal, but they wanted to have quote unquote good vibes, or they wanted to run a frequency that would match other frequencies aligned with good feelings, abundance, luck, love. You name it. Name it, beautiful soul. Just name it. And so, of course, you can understand, my sweet friend, how marketing the idea that you can control, can manipulate, can get your hands on this life experience and make it what you want to make it took off like wildfire. And how easy is it to market such a thing? We see it in the spiritual community and what we would call the New Age community and the occult and esoteric realms all the time. In fact, we might even be able to trace a lot of the self-help industry back to this idea that if you change your mind, you change your life. And that went in all kinds of directions. Self-help for optimizing yourself to be your best. And then on the more esoteric side of things, manifestation rituals and practices, even occults, which I believe, if the mind is streaming accurately, is associated with the word hidden. Information that could unlock what's rightfully yours. And in this manifestation paradigm, whether it's in the self-help realm or whether it is in the law of attraction realm, there is an element of entitlement. With no negativity, for the record. This is just an objective look at the phenomenon. The entitlement at the base of this, the premise of this, is that you should have what you want. How does that res? Gotta check in with the great all that is. How'd I do? Tell me, Spirit. How'd I do? Okay, it seems that was maybe a fine little glimpse into the phenomenon. If you're familiar with it, you're familiar with it. I've received emails, comments, been asked in conversation through the mainframe mind link, in dreams, in different platforms, in different places, on different planets. What is Spirit's take on manifestation? And I've been asked about law of attraction and specific programs with very specific titles and specific teachers with very specific names, as folks tend to have. Oh, hello, hi, I'm Amanda. So we're going to get all down to it right here and now, and we're going to clarify Spirit's take. So the first and foremost thing that comes through on the wave of the breath is how loved you are, beautiful soul. How absolutely adored and loved you are by Spirit. Every aspect, form, mind, heart, and beyond. Every silo, every dimension from shadow to light, the totality of you is absolutely loved by Spirit. And the love is unconditional and goes beyond what we can comprehend mentally. This love has been interpreted by humanity in so many ways. Some humans interpret the love as punishment. They feel the divine's love as being disciplined or not being able to get what they want. Other humans interpret the love as the entitlement we touched on earlier, which is, because I've been created, because I've come into existence, I'm meant to have, I should have the things that I desire. And across the entire human spectrum, there are different perceptions of what divine love feels like, what it looks like, and what it means for the ways that humanity chooses to behave. And even those who don't believe in a divine force or divine power have a fundamental understanding of divine love. And we touched on this in a recent transmission. How each and every individual feels about the present moment that they're in is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves as individuals. And Spirit is taking it a step further and saying, how we feel as individuals is a direct reflection of how we feel about the divine. So it's a three-party circus. It's an interesting choice of words, but let's jig. Let's dance. Let's hop around. How we feel about the present moment is how we feel about ourselves. How we feel about ourselves is how we feel about the divine. A holy trinity indeed. Intriguing. So, Spirit's not going to try to explain what the objective truth of unconditional love is through me at this moment with words. It's a feeling transmission. So the intention is that in sitting here and communing, it's something that you can begin to feel. It's something that you can begin to come awake to, come alive to, have a remembrance to. But the unconditional love can't be captured in my word choice at this time. So maybe at another time. Instead, Spirit's asking us to look at our relationship with unconditional love to understand manifestation. So let's do it. Let's use that Holy Trinity. And let's do it. Shoot. How we feel about the present moment. Fundamentally, manifestation suggests that the present moment is not complete. Manifestation suggests that completion will come in a future moment. The premise of manifestation is I am bringing in desires that are here. I am bringing them into form. The interesting thing about that premise is that in order to know what your ideas are, they must have been interpreted by the mind at some point. The heart emanates a frequency, a vibration, that the mind then interprets as data, or data, if you prefer. So the heart typically emits the truth of a feeling that is desired. The mind then takes that feeling and says, oh, I know what this is, darling, and translates that data into a person, place, or thing, into information, into an object that can then be acquired, or an experience that can then be acquired. The mind, it's a special place. And if you're new to the channel, welcome with all my heart, and know that there are many transmissions touching on the mind to be discovered. Suffice it to say, for the purpose of efficiency in this transmission, the mind is a collective realm. It's one that's shared, and our individual link to that realm is dependent on the form and that which is stored within it. So in terms of density, the form is dense, visible, touchable, feelable. The mind is slightly less dense. The mind is what I like to call a realm of half forms. So here we have a fully formed, manifested form. The mind is a realm of half forms. You've got this. You've got this. Keep tracking with me, beautiful soul. It's all coming together. The mind can perceive what's coming, what's going, and it does this by projecting images, fastening images, persons, places, and things. Half forms. Again, they're not fully physical, or they'd be dropping out of the sky into our hands. Whoa, baby elephant. Huh. Instead, they are the echoes. the foreshadowing or the post-shadowing of form. And the mind takes the inspiration for those things out of what's stored. So what's stored in our form that creates our mental link? It's memories, it's traumas, it's positive experiences that felt good, and so-called negative experiences that didn't feel so good. Again, those judgments themselves come from the realm of mind. So all of these things are stored, including ancestral data, generational data, assumptions, pain and pleasure, things having to do with specific ancestral lines, DNA. There's so many things stored in this form that the mental link that each individual possesses then translates, that was a free sound effect for you, into what we perceive to be the solution for the thing that's missing in our heart. So we're working on a couple of different concepts at this moment. It's the mind that interprets the heart's desires. We know that the mind isn't an objective source of truth. It is a projection of what's stored in the form. The form is storing all kinds of things. They're also not necessarily objective truths. The objective truth can only be felt in the present moment, and projections, which are created by the mind, are varying shades and varying degrees of that objectivity. So the mind never hits on truth. It can get close, it can throw darts, but it never gets to the bullseye because the mind is always a step ahead or a step behind the present moment. So let's go back for just a segundo and touch on, we're doing a lot of touching today. Wow. Hi. Let's touch on what manifestation is. It is a recognition by the mind that there is lack in the present moment. And depending on how the individual mind link of the individual in question, that's you at this moment, spins it, it may be washed one way or another. Oh, I don't think there's any lack. I just want more. But in the future, I just want to assure that the future reflects what I want it to look like. My heart's desire. If the mind has taken over, has commandeered our life experience, as it has for most of us most of the time, there's absolutely no judgment in that. Spirit recognizes it, honors it as part of the human experience. This is a no judgment zone. But it is a way of life that, from Spirit's perspective, is not celebrating the total human experience. Spirit is inviting a blissful human experience, a human experience born of peace. If we've allowed the mind to commandeer the human experience, manifestation will be one of the primary ways that we attempt to experience peace and wholeness. But because it is a mental operation that the mind has commandeered, manifestation can only ever give us a fragment of the satisfaction and peace of the human experience, because it's putting the mind in an exalted position, suggesting that the mind knows what's best. Spirit's take on this is that the desires that your unique soul wishes to experience are stored in the heart, and they will be fulfilled without question in this life experience. Ooh, without question. No individual will leave the face of this planet without having fulfilled their heart's desires. The degree of how consciously those desires are experienced is what varies. So an individual may have to live an entire life, which their mind judges as miserable, before laying their form down and their body down, coming into wholeness and consciousness in another dimension of experience and going, oh, actually I did that perfectly. It just felt horrible. Felt absolutely horrible. The degree that the life experience feels horrible represents the degree of separation between the light of awareness within us and our hearts. Manifestation occurs in this reality, but it occurs organically. The mind is not required to spearhead the process, and Spirit says that often that always when the mind spearheads a process exclusively without guidance from the heart, it limits and contracts not just the potential of the experience to expand us, but the ability that the white light of awareness, which you are, beautiful soul, has to experience bliss in that process. Circling back to our Holy Trinity, if the way that we as individuals feel about the present moment reflects the way that we feel about ourselves, if we are trying to manifest something greater or something more, if we are using our minds to attempt to manipulate or shift our reality away from what it is, for better or for worse. I say this in finger quotes because these are judgments of the mind. So the mind is strongly invested in believing it is improving the present moment by manipulating or changing it. If we are pushing away the present moment, it means we're pushing away ourselves. And if we're pushing away ourselves, it means we're pushing away the divine. It suggests that we've allowed the mind free rein, which it will eagerly take, to direct our actions. And we've elevated the mind into the position of the divine. And in doing so, have accidentally created a void within ourselves. It's an odd feedback loop. Attempting to manifest suggests we're not whole, we're not complete. We attempt to manifest to become whole and complete. We feel a void because we've created a void. Spirit doesn't judge this process in any capacity. In fact, both experiencing success and experiencing failure in the process of manifestation is to Spirit an expansion opportunity for every soul. The sooner every individual manifests all their desires, the sooner they realize acquiring persons, places, things, and that includes experiences, does not create wholeness, peace, or bliss. The faster an individual fails at manifesting all of the objects of their desires, persons, places, things, and that includes experiences, the faster they realize that failing at manifestation forces them to look elsewhere for wholeness, peace, and bliss. So Spirit is no judge of the manifestation process. But spirits ask for me, the little reader, to communicate to you, sweet, glorious soul, is that manifestation, the process of it, at its fundamental truth, the way we understand it, the creation of a life experience that you actually want to live versus one that repulses and repels you, occurs organically without the participation of the mind as a leader. The mind may act as a servant, but it is not required to spearhead the charge. And should it be given the permission to do so, it will run itself ragged, misinterpreting the signals of the heart based on what's stored in the body, trying to reverse engineer bliss and peace, when in fact bliss and peace exist right here, right now, accessible for you, beautiful soul. Often for a soul to experience it, it takes a little practice. I like to call that meditation. A lot of links below for that. But there are individuals who receive the lightning bolt of a divine encounter, and it rocks their world. That can happen too. So bliss and peace, practice or no practice, it's available. It exists within you. No acquisition will provide it. And the mind, as we've touched on before here in the house, does not know peace. The heart knows peace. So let's keep going. We're 27 minutes in, give or take. And it seems like we might just be getting started. Take a sip of a beverage if you've got it. Make yourself cozy. We're going back to the love for a moment. Oh, the glory of you. Spirit doesn't simply unconditionally love you. Spirit is unconditional love. That's the force that comprises the intelligence that we call God, Goddess, or the divine. Throw in your word. Dealer's choice. Not by accident, you are also unconditional love. Hard for us to accept that about our form. Hard for us to accept that about our mind. Hard for us to accept that about our heart. So a good fundamental place to begin is understanding that you are in possession of a form, you are in possession of a link to the realm of mind, and you are in possession of a heart. But that which you are is the light within it, the animating force. Ooh, and forth, sure. The animating force. The white light of consciousness, which is identical to the divine. So, being that you are unconditional love, and being that the divine is unconditional love, that makes you two one and the same. Why don't we know it? Why is that so abstract? Why does that feel like the biggest steaming pile of doo-doo ever, often? Many a reason, but primarily because where we are in our human evolution, the evolution of consciousness at this time, is identifying with the most dense aspects, there's a joke in there somewhere, of reality. So we identify as the form. Oh, this is me, this girl you see before you. Got some brown hair, got some brown eyes, brown. And the age. And all the other factors of my form. And then if I'm feeling a little bit more esoteric, I might identify with my mind. Oh, I am my ideas. I am my thoughts, my patterns, the ones that run through my head, my behaviors. And then if I'm feeling more artistic, I might identify with the heart. My feelings. I am my desires, back to that. I'm my wishes, my woes. So when we're identifying with these temporal aspects of ourself, it's hard, very hard, to feel like the divine. This is where it gets back to practice. Practicing identifying with the white light of consciousness begins to shift that very light that animates you from the mental realm, where it is so used to living. That's judgment land. That's the same old feed, the same old algorithm that passes through you all day, every day, to another location. Here in the Little Reader's House, we encourage shifting that awareness to the realm of the heart. But there are countless ways to meditate. Essentially, when you shift your identity away from the form, away from the mind, and even ultimately away from the heart, you pass through it, you remember, oh, that's right, I am the white light of awareness. And it's not an idea anymore. It's not a concept. It's not intellectual. It's a true remembrance. It's a true realization. And once it strikes you, it cannot be taken from you. It is akin to what a lot of texts would call a salvation moment. Once it's hit, it cannot be unhit. Some might say it's a peace that surpasses understanding. Again, the mind doesn't know peace. It's not an idea, it's not a belief, it's not a thought. It is a multi-realm experience that strikes and it doesn't unstrike. When that occurs, manifestation is not interesting. Is there another way to say it? Is there better, not better, but more? When your identity shifts from form to light, truly, not as a belief, not as an idea, not as a thought, as a knowing, either through practice or through a divine experience, through the use of a plant medicine, through a near-death experience. When it shifts from form to light, your perception of life and objects, people, places, things, and experiences also shifts from form to light. So what Spirit is highlighting here is that when you, beautiful soul, no longer identify as the temporal aspects of you, the mortal attributes, when you no longer identify this way, you also no longer identify, ascribe identity to objects, to persons, to places, to experiences in your life. There is no longer a compulsive need to manifest. What manifestation has become at this juncture in time-space reality is a compulsive need of the mind to escape from the present moment. It has been coded and washed in many different ways. But the tendency that's channeling through the little reader at this moment, the thing that Spirit wants to address through this vessel at this time, is the obsessive mental pastime of expending awareness, that which you are, pulling it away from being embodied, pulling it away from being centered in the heart, and pulling it into the mind with the desire to control. And again, it elevates the mind to this level of divinity because it suggests that the mind is accurately interpreting the messages of the heart. So let's look at some examples that evidently we're gonna get right now. Okay. A beautiful soul is discontent with their life experience. They want to change it. They don't know how. So they want to manifest money. They read books, they create vision boards, they create visions, they spend a lot of energy looking into the future, writing out visions, watching their thoughts, micromanaging their emotional states as to only allow themselves to feel good. Sometimes they have success, sometimes they don't. They attribute their wins to them doing their process just right. They attribute their losses to them doing their process wrong. There's punishment and judgment in this. It's an entirely mental process. Ultimately, it ends with them feeling burned out, disenchanted, disillusioned. And they call it on manifestation. They don't do it anymore. Another individual is discontent with their life. Everything's good, but they lacking love. Someone write that down. They want a partner, they want a soulmate, they want a buddy, they feel the void in their heart. This individual is a little bit more keyed in to their emotions. They often feel loneliness, they often feel sadness, they often feel a void. But their mind has interpreted that emotion and said, I see, we're feeling loneliness, we're feeling sadness. I'm going to interpret this based on the patternings in this form. This issue will be solved with a romantic partner. Let's get one. The individual goes through some practices, visualization, affirmations. They think about this partner every night before they go to bed. They meditate on this partner's face, visage, even if it's imagined, and they attract a partner. They do. And it's beau, which is short for beautiful. And they're happy for a time. But then they still feel lonely, and they still feel sad, and they still feel a void in their heart. And they find other reasons. The mind goes, oh, well, it can't be because we don't have a partner anymore. Or maybe it is, depending on the patterns within the individual. They may ditch the partner, throw them, and find another one because it's the partner being the wrong partner that's the issue. Or they'll keep the partner and they'll ascribe the issue of loneliness, sadness, and otherwise a vacancy in the heart to something else in their life, which they will then attack with their mental force. Then there's another individual who knows exactly what they desire from their life. Their heart has shown them. They're strongly emotionally attuned. They feel their destiny within them. They feel it, they can smell it, they can taste it. The thoughts that enter their mind are like premonitions and visions. They come and this individual sees it and feels it, and it's a total body experience. It's like foreshadowing. And this individual manifests by taking opportunities as they arise, by taking organic action in the direction of their heart's desires. This individual manifests by simply following their heart, by making their mind a servant, not letting their mind decide the path. They don't write it out on paper. They don't track it through. They get impulses, inspirations, and waves, and they ride them and follow them. The heart isn't being interpreted by the mind. The heart is being tapped into directly. It's emanating a feeling. It's emanating a knowing. And the mind is not used to interpret what that means in terms of action. Instead, the mind is used as a servant to carry out daily tasks, to be redirected constantly to listening to the heart. And then when an opportunity arises, any preparations that have been made in advance are then put into action. It is typically the individuals in the third category who manifest destiny, according to Spirit, loudly. And everybody else goes, "Look, how did you do that?" And the individual in the third category says, "I manifested it." But the individual in the third category doesn't realize that the large majority of the rest of the population does not have an insight into the desires of their heart the way that that individual does. Because of this, and because of the disconnect to the heart, and because individuals are feeling unhappy in their present moments, and therefore unhappy about themselves, and therefore unhappy about God, unhappy about the divine, unhappy about the state of the world, they look to someone, to something, to provide the recipe, the answers of how to get away from the discontent. And often they'll look to the leaders, the people who manifested their lives, who then say, "I manifested it." But there's a huge disconnect here. Because the individuals that organically follow their heart and follow their heart's desires were in such close proximity that they found the courage to do that and acted upon it without force, without mental gritting of the teeth, expenditure of willpower. The popular doctrine of manifestation circling the zeitgeist. What's said commonly about manifestation, the common understanding at this time, at this juncture in time, space, reality, is that you and everyone on this planet has the ability to rewrite their reality using willpower, using their mind. I will force myself to believe what I want to believe. I will force myself to break out of patterns. I will force myself to become something new in my mind that will then be mirrored by my world. That's interesting because we would understand this human emotion as grief. Spirit grieves for that. It is a self-hating way to attempt to build value in the self, to make the life experience valuable, to make the self feel valuable. We've just recently had a transmission on trying to make yourself valuable. Spirit doesn't judge the process. Again, all things are welcome in a learning matrix, in an expansion paradise. But Spirit asks me to tell you now, beautiful soul, that it's not a way to get to bliss. It's not a way to get to peace. It's a way to play in the mind, which Spirit never judges. But for most of humanity at this time, it doesn't feel like play. It doesn't feel like splashing around in a pond with 5 of your closest friends on a beautiful sunny day. It feels like pain and pressure. It feels like failure. It feels like taking all the responsibility for this world onto one set of shoulders and judging the self brutally for every failure, every inability to manifest, every lacking dollar, every lacking lover. Self-flagellation feels like hell. So Spirit's vision of manifestation goes like this. And it's an invitation for you today, beautiful soul. Gently lay to rest all ideas that the mind has concocted about what is good for you, what is right for you, what is meant for you, about your destiny, about your future, about what you need to feel free, about what you need to feel healthy or well, whether that's a partner or money. These are the big ones that Spirit is bringing in, the most in demand for those who will be accepting this transmission. You are so loved. Partner, money. Aside from that, liberty to travel, to not feel so stressed, to not feel like, as we've touched on in another transmission called, why can't I ever get ahead, or why can't I catch up? Never seem to catch up. To stop feeling like more lifeblood is being extracted than can be replenished. Set aside all the ways that you believe you need to solve your own problems. Spirit's ultimate guide to manifestation at this time You knew it. You knew it. It's to get close to the heart. To get close to the present moment. To get close to the white light of awareness within. Why? Why? Because bringing it back to that Holy Trinity, how you feel about the moment is how you feel about yourself. Is how you feel about the divine. In a great twist, the laws of manifestation are not incorrect. But co-opting those laws with the mind and thinking that we are hacking the system and that our minds are responsible for making things happen for ourselves is a mental game. If we look at the laws of manifestation, however, feeling whole, feeling complete, feeling at peace, a feeling of knowing that what you desire is already yours, are the top attractor factors, are the top frequency boosters. And there's all kinds of argument in the esoteric circles about what frequency is the highest. Is it love? Is it authenticity? According to Spirit, it's different for every single individual. So to prescribe a process is like prescribing one medication for every individual who's exhibiting some kind of similar but not identical symptom. The process of manifestation is a mental band-aid for a dissatisfaction of the present moment. Spirit asks you, invites you, never demands, never even asks, forgive me. Spirit invites, because Spirit doesn't judge. So Spirit's not interested in changing your process. According to Spirit, you're doing an incredible job, beautiful soul. You can't mess this up. But if you have doubts about manifestation, the way it's been presented or the way it's been pitched, marketed, sold, or even explained or taught, if you have doubts, if it doesn't resonate, or if you've tried it and it hasn't worked, or if you're a huge fan and you're just looking for the next best way, Spirit presents this as an invitation for all manifestation queries. Come to know yourself as the light. Shift from following the lead of the mind, which says, I know the problem, I created it, therefore I know the solution, and I can get you the thing that you need to set you free. Ancient texts, religions, and cultures have a lot of thought, a lot of mental insight on this phenomenon. And how it steals hearts away from the divine. But Spirit says it doesn't. You don't have to stop your process. It's just going to steal away your bliss and steal away your peace. And that's the big offering that Spirit wants to give to you. More than anything. That's as close as we get to intellectually understanding the unconditional love, is that you who are listening, don't blanket it to the rest of the world. The message is for you, beautiful soul. You are being invited to bliss. You are being invited to peace. You are being invited to knowing the divine. Now. But not as a wish-granting machine, and not to get away from the present moment, or to enrich it, but to accept it and to love it. That's why we meditate. That's why we practice. That's why this little vessel, this little form, repeats over and over again every single day about something that's in you, the heart. And how that thing, if you spend time immersing yourself as awareness into it, stealing it back from the mind for a few minutes a day and putting it in the heart, that practice turns you into the individual who manifests, finger quotes on fleek, all of the desires of your heart in a way that feels like bliss, in a way that feels like joy. There's so much that can be learned from the heart, beautiful soul. I can't, at this time, verbalize it. But getting to know your heart, spending time with it, remembering your identity as the white light of consciousness versus the temporal things that will pass. That practice will change your entire perspective of manifestation and will imbue you with such wholeness and such completion that the so-called desires of your heart will chase and hunt you down. They will hunt you down. In closing, Your Honor, is it wrong to practice manifestation techniques? Spirit won't say that anything is wrong. So no. Does manifestation work? Only you can say, beautiful soul. Is the mind looking for something to pin its hope on? Is the mind looking for something to pin peace on? Oftentimes our desires to manifest are the mind seeking to restore peace to itself by believing it has done everything it can to facilitate the solutions to its problems. Just as gravity is real, the law of attraction is real. But unless you're designing a plane, there's no reason, no need to obsess over that law. You can work harmoniously with it and never think about it, never, not once. You can find peace and bliss here and now. And never once include the mind, aside from how it serves humbly in an opportune moment, and then goes back to its corner to await its next instruction. Spirit wants me to deliver the message that most manifestation originates from self-loathing and shame, sadness, loneliness. And Spirit asks me to communicate that the antidote to all of those resides in being present with them as truths. For both the individuals, all of the individuals that we mentioned in our examples, but primarily the first two, sought remedies for what they judged as bad and lacking. And Spirit says that the true remedy was simply to love what was there. The fear, the panic, the stress, the loneliness, the shame, the confusion. So let go of the thoughts, beautiful soul, if you like. If it's not fun for you to micromanage your existence, to attempt to control and manipulate it, let it go. Release it. If it's fun, go ham. But if you're here, peace and bliss now are what's being offered to you. You can have it now. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added unto you. I read that one time. So that's where we're leaving it today, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for joining me on that adventure. I'm sending you all the love I've got. It's always more. It's never less, because you are so very worthy of it. If I could squeeze you, I am squeezing. I'm squeezing with your consent lovingly. My heart to touch yours. There's so many links down below taking you through a world of exploration of your heart. We've got the breath of life. It's a breathing exercise on YouTube. We've got Wim Hof breathing, also a breathing exercise on YouTube. We've got my Patreon, where there's $1.11 for every month, and there's a 30-day program about how to meditate on your heart space in there. There's a lot. I'm actually not certain what else is down there, but I know that every single thing has been vetted and utilized by myself as a little reader on my own journey toward this moment right here. This moment right here. And all I know is that there's nowhere else in the universe I'd rather be. Nowhere. Than right here, right now with you and you. That's why I'm here. So until we meet again, beautiful soul, I love you, I love you, and I love you. Bye for now.